book came out this December. It's called Witness Revolution. For those of us just joining us on the recorded version, again, I'm Kiersten Marcil. This is If These Pages Could Talk. I'm here with my co-host.
It's me. Sorry, I'm having one of those blonde days. Sevannah Storm, writer of romance. Hello, everyone. What was I supposed to say more?
You can.
Nah, it's fine.
You're allowed. Next time. Okay. So we are here today. We have a special treat for you, another author-editor duo. So excited to welcome back Jodi Christensen and her author, Vicky Walklate. So Vicky, please, as our guest, introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Vicky Walklate and I'm a hybrid author. So I write fantasy romance and historical mystery for Champagne Book Group. And I also write monster romance, which I self-publish.
Jodi.
Okay, and I'm Jodi Christensen. I write under the pen name Jodi Jensen. I write time travel romance, some horror stories. I have a biopunk novella that will be coming out this year later. And I'm also an editor, so I edit for Champagne Books and do freelancing on the side. And yeah.
We're so glad you're back.
Thank you.
Vicky,
Glad to be here.
Vicky inspired our game. For those of us who have not watched our episodes yet, we like to play a little game to sort of break the ice. And Vicky inspired this one because on her website, you talk about stocking up on tea and gin supplies, sometimes all at once is one of your pastimes. I love that. So today's game is going to be Name That Blend, where each of us have brought a name of a tea blend, and the audience, please join in with your comments, and obviously everyone on this call is going to try to guess at least one of the ingredients in that blend. Anyone want to go first? Maybe Vicky, since you're our guest.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I have brought one to show you. It's not the most exciting name, and it kind of gives it away, but it does have 5 different ingredients. So we'll see. It's called I don't know if you can see that. Where's the camera? Berry. What's up? Berry Burst. And it's actually it's a Norfolk company where I live in the UK, so it's a local company, and yeah, it's called Berry Burst. So if you want to have some, I'm actually drinking it now, and it's very nice, and it's very pink. So I'll let you guess what might be in it.
Berries.
But what kind?
Raspberries.
Hang on, I actually have to read the ingredients because I can't remember. Yes, it has yes, raspberry pieces is one of the ingredients.
Yay, I got one.
Yay.
There we go. They say raspberry leaves are very good when you're pregnant and you have morning sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've heard
So
that
you
too.
do have news, Vicky?
No.
Luckily my husband did not hear that. He would freak out right now.
What?
I'm gonna guess blueberry too. Does it have blueberry too?
It doesn't. No, actually, weirdly, for the name, it looks like it hasn't got any other actual berries in it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but it has other pink type things, if that helps.
Pomegranate.
No, but that would be lovely.
I know. Grapefruit.
No,
Oh, freaking hell. Watermelon.
no.
Watermelon. Are there other fruits in this tea?
Yeah, there is a fruit.
Apple.
Not a, yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say not a pink
Okay.
one, but yeah, it's got apple. Should I tell you?
Can be pink. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it has hibiscus, rose hip
Ooh.
shells,
Ooh.
apple, raspberry pieces, and orange peel.
Oh, wow.
And I
Orange
think
is
it's
not
actually
pink.
caffeine free. No, orange is not pink. I guess no.
Minor technicality.
Minor technical.
Was
But
never
the
gonna
tea
guess orange.
is very pink. Yeah, and it's quite nice.
Are you tea in the morning, tea in the afternoon, tea all the time?
I am tea all the time, every day, all the time. Yeah, I don't drink coffee. I don't like the taste of coffee. I sometimes wish I did because I think coffee sounds amazing, all the different kinds that you can get, but I don't like the taste. So yeah, I am tea morning, noon, and night. Yes.
Okay, Jodi, what do you have for us?
Okay, I did not bring my tea because I don't have any of it right now, but one blend that my kids like to get for me once in a while, so I'll just tell you about it. It's from Fraser Tea and it's called Golden Monkey. So if you want to take a guess what might be in that.
That
Not
sounds like
pea.
a green.
What?
It's not pea.
No. No,
It
that
sounds
would
like a
not be
green
tea.
No, that would be.
Golden.
Is it like honey or something like that?
Mm.
It does have honey, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Ginger? Does it have ginger?
It does not have ginger.
Ginseng?
Any other guesses?
Ginseng or maybe goldenrod?
No.
How about normal black tea like Ceylon?
I don't even have the box, so I can't read the other flavors. It is a black tea, so
Oh, it
Um,
is.
yeah.
I would
Okay.
Golden. I only
Golden.
know of the series Golden Monkey.
Has it got any lemon in it?
It does not have
No.
lemon. It does have a fruit, but it's not lemon.
Orange?
No.
No.
Nope.
Wait, I'm
Hmm.
looking, I'm Googling it.
Oh, Seb, you cheat.
Oh, he doesn't have the box. So I'm gonna check it out. So we can
Yeah,
know
I
for
don't have a
sure.
box, so I can't name all the things that are in it, but
All right.
I
Well,
just know
this
the
is
flavors.
this is a hint that it's time for your kids to get you more.
I
Yeah, I
know,
think
right?
so.
You have to make them watch this.
Ooh.
Should I tell you the couple of things that I know for sure?
Yeah, go for
So
it.
it's honey and peach, and then it does have a cinnamon flavor to it. So
Ooh. Yeah, this is
Ooh,
not
okay.
helpful, this website.
the black tea. Yeah. It's really good.
It sounds
That's why I'm
amazing.
out of
Yeah.
it.
Hint, hint,
And
family.
Yes,
I am
come on,
not
tea. My
I'm not
my
a
dad.
tea. I'm not a coffee drinker anymore, so it's tea all the time.
That's good. Yeah, my dad got me a subscription, so now I get different teas to try each month.
Oh,
which is probably
nice.
overpriced, but it's fun.
That's
All
fun
right.
though.
I guess I'll go next. I don't know,
Okay.
Seb, you're still researching. So I
Yep.
did bring some. I have not tried it yet because I just peeled off the label. It's called Celebrate from this Albany company called Herbal Teas, and I'll pour it out so you can see it.
Ooh.
But the name again is Celebrate. Would maybe or not.
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm gonna end up dumping this on myself. I can tell.
The whole thing
All
is
right.
gonna
Yeah,
come
this
out
is gonna
once
go
now.
wrong.
There we go. In there. I tried. It failed. It's okay. So
Okay. Is it a
Hennessy?
black tea?
what is it?
Is it a black tea of some?
It
definitely-
is not. It's
Oh.
organic.
It's an herbal. Is it an herbal tea?
Herbal organic.
Ah.
Herbal for us proper speakers.
Oh, sorry. No, me and
Has it got
Savannah-
aniseed in it?
No,
Coconut flakes.
no, that would be fun.
I know.
But I love like what you guys have.
Celebrate.
Rooibos.
Oh.
Has it got
We've already
rooibos?
Does
in
it
We've already named some of the ingredients like in your teas.
does
Ah,
it have spices like
cinnamon,
cinnamon
Yeah, cinnamon,
or
surely.
ginger, things like that?
No,
apple.
apple. It does have
Ah,
apple. Yeah. So
okay.
there's bits of apple.
So
in
that's
that.
the white bits. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
What
It looks like dried nuts.
Yes,
Like
there
trail
are. There's
mix.
almonds.
oh really?
Yeah.
There's-
Yeah, it does, right? There's like
Yeah. Rose petals.
yes, rose petals.
Okay. Is there orange in
Potpourri.
there as well? I'm just
No.
gonna say orange for everything now.
There you go. That's a good guess. No. So I'll just tell you what we have here. We've got apple, rose hips, almond pieces, hibiscus, blue butterfly pea flower, which I've never tried before, so I'm looking forward to that. Sunflower, and it says love. This is the last ingredient.
Oh.
and love.
Yeah, that was my next guess.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
All right, now my turn.
Yeah.
This one's a giveaway. It's made with African tea, right?
Mhm.
And spices.
Those are rooibos.
No, I don't drink rooikakbos. No,
Oh, good. Okay.
my husband does. I don't.
No. Okay.
Spices.
Spices.
Spice,
So cinnamon.
Yes, I think there's
Yeah.
cinnamon.
Cloves.
Hold on. You're throwing the
Oh.
curveball at me. I got to find it. I've got to read it with my eyesight. Yeah, I don't know where it says what it's got in it.
Oh dear.
And I know it does say, oh, there it is. It's got cinnamon, that's correct. Clove, that's correct.
Nutmeg?
No,
No,
Oh,
nutmeg.
yeah, no, not nutmeg.
Ginger?
working on
Yes, ginger, root.
oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I love those spicy flavors, like the spices like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Come on, anyone? Anyone? And it's black tea, by the way. I didn't bring the white one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and
Did you said nutmeg, didn't you?
yeah, there's no
Yeah, I said
nutmeg.
nutmeg, but
I
doesn't
like
have it.
nutmeg.
Mm.
I do too.
They would have given it a a pineapple pumpkin spice flavor, wouldn't it have?
Uh-huh.
I
A little
wouldn't
bit.
know. I'm in
It's
South
kind of a
Africa.
fall flavor. Yeah,
We
it's
don't
kind of
have
a fall
pumpkin
flavor.
spice.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry.
So sorry. No, I'm sorry for you.
All right, must I tell you?
Right.
Yes.
It's got cardamom seeds and it's
Okay.
got black pepper. And it's such a cool brand. The company is called My Tea Chai. I don't know if you can.
Oh,
Wait, listen.
cool.
Where am I? Do you see
Oh,
that?
You
yeah.
got it.
It's
Uh-huh.
in reverse.
Right, nice.
Thanks, people.
Very good.
Yeah, so it's black tea chai. That's what it is. And it says, yeah, it's a blend of African tea with traditional Indian spices.
Nice.
I love that cardamom flavor. It's nice flavor.
Yeah,
Mm.
so it's
Mhm.
Thai. It's Thai chai. I don't want to say
Chai,
chai tea
yeah.
because then it's tea tea. If that makes any sense. And I don't drink it often because I'm a coffee person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When do you drink tea?
When I have carbs available in my diet and I've got spare carbs and I'm like, I'll have a cup of tea. Otherwise, it's coffee. Sorry,
All
people.
right. No.
Sorry,
coffee-
Vicky.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good. All right. Awesome. Well, why don't we start with Jodi and Vicky? Tell us how you ended up meeting as author editor and how that process works.
Well, on my end, I was just asked, I was told that there was an author who was in need of an editor, and I got I think I got the first maybe chapter of the story to look at and just kind of a blurb, so what the story was about. And I was just asked if I was interested in editing this story. So I read it and I was interested, and I agreed that I would love to edit the story, and I was assigned. So it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes, if you've been at a pitch party or somewhere, you get to pick your own stories that you work on. But this one was a really happy accident, I guess, because I was assigned, but I was given the chance to decide if I wanted to work on it or not, and I really wanted to. So
Yeah, I was told that Jodi was going to be my editor, and she sent a lovely email introducing herself and telling me how the process was going to work and how she edits and things like that. And I was very, very happy because straight away she came across really lovely. So I was very excited.
thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, so I feel like it was a good match from the start. I mean, just some people you connect with and some stories you connect with, and it
Yeah.
was just a good match right from the start, I think.
Yeah, I think Jodi's way of working really is great for me because I'm not a fan of the tough love method. That doesn't bring out the best in me, and Jodi is just so kind and patient. Even when you're giving like constructive criticism, it's always given with a smile and loads of advice of what I need to change, and you're very methodical as well. I love the way that you break it down into sections, and it's always very colorful with all the words that I've repeated, and it's always very pretty to look at as well.
Yeah, I know.
And daunting, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the way the way that Jodi breaks the manuscript down into sections makes it a lot less daunting. I think you get section 1, which is like the first few chapters, and she'll say, right, work on this while I do the next bit. So I think that's a lot less daunting than to be given an entire manuscript of pretty colors and comments.
Right. And I do it that way on purpose. That's the reason I do it, because I understand how it can really be just overwhelming and scary and intimidating to get an entire manuscript at once. And you feel like you don't even know where to start, because what do you address first? And I want it to be a good experience. So I thought, well, for me, I would like to work that way. And it's easier for me then too, because I'm moving forward at the same time that you're moving forward. So I like working that way. I work that way with all authors.
Sorry, yeah. Yep, I can attest to that. Jodi, do you want to explain for our audience what we're talking about with how you color code, what that refers to?
Those are for the words that are echoed. So echoed words or phrases. So that's just repetitive words, something that appears multiple times in a short section. So I will highlight those words. I don't highlight them if they're intentional, because sometimes you have an intentional echo and that's fine. But when they're unintentional, because I think as writers, we kind of get word blindness a little bit, because we're just drafting, we're just writing. We don't know if we've used look 17 times, in a chapter. We don't notice that. And so it's good to have another set of eyes on things. And when you highlight the words, all of a sudden you can see them, and that helps a lot in making it so you can change those up and not have the repetitive, because your brain will be like, did I just see this? And then you're kicked out of the story. You're looking back, where did I see this expression? Or didn't this already happen? Or so I highlight that way. It's easier to see it.
I'm glad because I do the same. Because I'm currently editing a novel, and I do the same. And I thought it was just me. It's so much easier to see where you've highlighted the words.
Yeah,
it is.
And you also get like word phrases too. Like
I do that too.
Moments,
or even if it's just very similar, if it's not word for word, but it's just similar enough. Like she took a deep breath, she breathed heavily, she,
lots
her
of
breath caught. Like if I'll highlight all those. If you see all of those in a single paragraph, you're like, okay, we're way too focused on breathing here. What else? Yeah, what else have you got?
My characters breathe a lot. Like there's a lot of breathing in my manuscripts.
Mine sigh.
Yeah.
Mine turn a lot, I've noticed. So,
And Kiersten,
we all do it. That's the thing, is we all do it.
My love interest, the soldier, sighs. He does a lot of sighing. Sighing and nodding.
Do all of
lots
you
of nodding.
Yep. Do all of you actually have a checklist for your own novels?
I do, actually.
You have to run it through before you send it through.
Yeah.
I do. And I have a spreadsheet that has like the overused words and phrases, and that has, all of those, as Kiersten calls them, the sin words. I have a spreadsheet that I use, and I use it on my own too. So that I can see where I'm at when I've started, and they'll be like, oh, I have the word just like 250 times. That's not okay. And so I'll, that helps me know, like, to focus on which things I need to really change or take out or reword. So I
I don't mind if it's 250 words in a 85,000 novel.
Depends on the
minuscule.
word.
Yeah, but what I don't like is if it's more than once on a page. So just long as it's as long as it's one per page, then it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I do that too, but with adverbs, I don't want to see more than 2 to 3 a page, if that. That's
none.
Like,
I aim for none. I mean, you can't get away from barely. Can't get away from barely. So if anyone comes up with a replacement for barely, please let us know in the comments, please.
Right. And see, I don't know. I mean, adverbs are hard because sometimes you need them, but I just think if you use them with intent, then it's okay if there's not a better way to say what you're saying. But if there's a better way to say it, then let's do that.
Yeah.
You know. So
Jodi, you had a question for Vicky. So you had a couple of questions I know for Vicky. So why don't we pass the torch to you?
okay, I will ask the one that was at the top of my list because I have often wondered about this with your story, Vicky. But so, and maybe this seems trivial, but I wonder, are your characters, are they gods who happen to be dragon shifters, or are they dragon shifters who happen to be gods? Like, what would you say?
So I would say they are dragon shifters who kind of have been around for so long that they believe they're gods and everyone else believes they're gods. I think that's
Okay.
probably the way to, when I started writing the story, I just wanted to write about dragon shifters because I love them. I
Mhm.
think they're such a fantastic paranormal creature.
Mhm.
But when I started coming up with plot ideas, it all seemed the human sacrifice aspect of it kept coming in, and I kept thinking, well, they need to be more than just dragon shifters to explain why these humans are so keen to allow themselves to be sacrificed. And that's when the idea of gods came in. So they're kind of more gods in their own heads than actual deities.
Right. Okay.
Which I think comes across in the story. Libby, the main character, quickly realizes that, okay, he's a
Right.
god, but he's also just a dragon shifter as well, and a bit of an asshole.
That's kind. Vicky, do you want to before I throw it back to Jodi again, do you want to quick tell us about your book that we're focusing on today?
Yes, yeah. So Sacrifice is book 1 in the Gods of Trivium series, which is set in the realm of Jathesia, and it's ruled by 3 brothers who are dragon shifter gods. And the premise of this story is that every 25 years, they need to renew their magic and maintain their strength to keep out the demons that they exiled like 2,000 years ago. And to do that, they have to sacrifice a human. And as I mentioned, the humans kind of worship the dragon god, so they're quite happy to offer up a human to be, they consider it an honor. And at the start of Sacrifice, the magic selection spell chooses Libby, who is our main character. And this comes as a bit of a surprise to everyone, including Libby, because she did not put herself forward as one of the potential sacrifices. But that kind of doesn't matter. She was picked by the spell. So she is taken to Trivium, which is the gods' castle where they live, and she is given over to the gods to be sacrificed. Unfortunately, everything that could go wrong with the ritual does go wrong, and she ends up lost in the wilderness with the eldest god, Retan, who is quite badly injured at the time, and he is very jaded, very grumpy, very stern, and as I said, a bit of an asshole and not very godly. And she really doesn't like him at all. And he's not keen on her either because he blames her. He thinks that she is the reason that the rituals failed. There's something wrong with her. But they're lost in the wilderness together, so they reluctantly team up to make their way through the mountains and try and figure out why the ritual failed. The kind of unspoken rule is that they really need to stay enemies because he still, when he figures out how to do the ritual correctly, he still needs to kill her. And she has secretly decided that she is going to rebel from him and she's going to run away at some point when she figures out where she is. So yeah, they're definitely very much enemies, but they're reluctantly working together. And as the story goes on, we realize that underneath that animosity, there are other feelings brewing. And that goes on as the story goes on, and it's a duology, so it kind of ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger in terms of the plot. And the second book should hopefully, which wraps up their story, should hopefully be out in April. I've signed the contract for that a couple of weeks ago, and that their romance then will continue. So yeah, so that's the gist of it.
Awesome. Did you know when you started writing that this was going to be a duology?
No, No, I did not. That that happened because the story turned out to be a lot more slow burn than I expected. The romance was very slow burn, and I just couldn't. I think I got to like 100,000 words and realized that this was too long for the kind of the fantasy romance market. It was, by the time I finished, it was going to be 120, 130 words, 120,000 words. So I decided I was going to have to split it, which I think has worked quite well, better than having a very, very long fantasy romance.
I would agree. It reads, the pacing is so good. It doesn't read like a really long book, and I like where you ended it too. I think it was kind of a natural place to split it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it worked quite well, I think.
it did. Yeah, it did.
Jodi, I'm going to kick it back to you for one of your other questions.
For me, sorry, or Vicky? I'm sorry.
For you to ask Vicky.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I'm okay. I always ask this question of people because I have favorites, so I always want to know, like, who was your favorite side character in the story?
Yeah, probably I've got two.
Okay.
And they are Dax and Fen, who are the two other shifters that help Libby and Retan on their journey. Dax is a ground shifter and Fen is a water shifter, and they're very, very different personality-wise, but they're also very good friends. And they have really good banter. They seem to be very popular with readers as well. I've had some very nice comments about how they like them. Fen in particular was not supposed to be a particularly big character in the book. I think he was supposed to in my plans, he was supposed to guide them to a river, and that was it. And as soon as he kind of stepped onto the page, he was kind of like, no, they're going to come to my house, they're going to go on my boat, and I'm going to turn up in the second book as well. So
I'm glad to hear that, because he is my favorite of your side characters too.
Yeah, he's for good fun.
Is there going to be a
Such
spin-off?
a good character.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love Dax and Fen, and I do keep thinking, I'd really like for them to have their happy ever afters as well. So never say never. Never say never. I think that would be fun to write, definitely.
Or read.
Yes.
Fun to read.
Yeah.
He's
just such a fun. Go ahead.
Sorry. What's one thing that you both like about working with each other?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I really like how kind and patient Jodi is. The way that she comes across with her comments, even if it's criticism, which I'm fine to get, obviously, it's not only constructive, but it's helpful as well. It's not just this is rubbish and you need to change this, come on, sort it out. It's very much this could do with being improved, and this is what I think you could potentially do. It's really nice and kind and patient, which I appreciate.
Thank you. And I will say, like, I didn't get a lot of pushback, which is good. I mean, and sometimes you need that back and forth to see what's going on and see the big picture. And I like to know how you see your story. And I feel like the communication was good, and you're such a good writer. I mean, you're such a good writer that it wasn't a difficult edit at all. And I was able to really enjoy, like, learning the motives behind some of the reasons that they do the things that they do.
Yeah.
And so that was fun to see that. And that was something I always enjoy about working with authors, and when you get the chance to kind of get that behind the scenes stuff, because you don't always get that as a reader, you know what I mean? So I enjoyed that, and I appreciated that we had good communication, and that it was just smooth and really pleasant.
I think there was really one funny bit for me, which was more of a kind of cultural miscommunication than anything else, which was to do with units of measurement. Do you I don't know if you remember. So in the UK, we have a terrible tendency to mix up our measurements. We switch between imperial and metric interchangeably depending on what we're talking about, and it's totally normal for us. So I I just wrote that into the book without even thinking about it. And then, but of course, Jodi was reading it, and she put this lovely comment on, and you were so kind, but I could sense your utter confusion coming through your comment, which was like, right, what is going on with your units of distance? Because you're talking about this journey in terms of miles, which is fine, but now you're describing this river and its width in meters, and now you've gone back and you're talking about feet and inches of how tall this person is. Please just pick a system and stick to it. So I do need to check the second book when I start my pre-edits. I'm going to have to check, because I'm pretty sure I've done the same thing. And I was like, I'm really sorry, it's just what we do.
That's why you have editors, though, right? I mean, because you don't, as a writer, you don't always think about those things. You write based on your own way that you do things, the way you see things, or in this case, measure things. But I do remember that now that you say that. I do remember that.
I have a comment on our Facebook. Pip Walklate, relations.
Oh, probably.
Very impressed by your interview, Vicky.
Oh, thank you. Which Walklate is that?
I don't know. It says Pip.
Oh, Pip. Oh, yes, that's my mother-in-law.
There we go.
Yay.
Thanks,
Thank
Mom.
you.
Awesome. Vicky, I'm going to give you the torch now, and you had some questions, I know, for Jodi.
Yes, I did. Let me just find them.
Right.
I've got my notes here. Yeah, so I know that you edit a variety of genres and romance subgenres, and are there any aspects of fantasy romance that can be particularly challenging or particularly fun to edit?
Well, both challenging and fun for fantasy, because that is one genre that I don't actually write, is fantasy romances or fantasy stories of any kind, really. So it's challenging in that you have to realize that every fantasy story has its own world, it has its own rules, it has its own magic often. And the characters aren't always going to be like what your dragon shifters do might not be what somebody else's dragon shifters can do. And so every story has its own rules. So it takes a little bit of time to understand what those rules are. So the challenge for me as an editor with that is I don't want to give you advice saying, oh, you can't do this, this doesn't work, because I have to get to know your story first and what your rules are. And that is a little bit of a challenge, because those things are often revealed over the course of the story. So like in the case of yours, I actually read the whole manuscript. I mean, I do anyway, but I read the whole manuscript start to finish, and I took notes on like some of the things and how they worked in your world, so that as I edited, I would know, okay, this they can do, or this they shouldn't be doing, because that's not the rules that you established. And or if you break a rule, then there has to be a consequence. So was there a consequence if the rule is broken? So I don't always take such detailed notes when I edit. I mean, I always take a few notes, but I took detailed notes because I needed to understand how your world worked, because it was fantasy. And like I said, where I don't write fantasy, and yours was only the second fantasy novel that I've ever edited. So
oh wow,
I've done more since then, but at the time it was only the second one. So I really wanted to do a good job. I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to be sure that the advice I was giving you was helpful for your story.
On that note, speaking of notes, Vicky, do you actually keep a Bible?
Kind of, yeah. I've got various notebooks with scribbled notes and drawings, and I've got various documents excuse me, that have got rules about the world and how the magic works and things like that. Everything's a bit mixed up at the moment, so when I start the second book revisions, I'm going to have to dig everything out, but I've got the map at the beginning of the book, and I do refer to that to make sure that everything in the realm is staying where it's supposed to stay. And I think it's really important with fantasy to stick to the rules that you set. So a lot of my notes relate to making sure that I do that.
So you could have given Jodi your notes.
Yeah, that would have been really
She could have.
helpful.
Just FYI, she kept it from you, Jodi, on
Yeah.
purpose.
But then don't you think I mean, for me, it's good to know because going in, it was a cold read. I didn't read hers as a submission, so it was a cold read for me. So then we had a really good idea how it comes across to readers, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that
So
idea. Because then you can
so
compare
I
what your perception is versus her rules.
versus what her
Mm.
like how
Yeah.
she intended it to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like that actually worked to our benefit in this
Perfectly.
case because
Yeah.
Now I'm curious because Jodi, you found me through a pitch event and recommended me. So do you read it differently, or like not intentionally, but do you think you read it differently in learning a fantasy world?
um maybe not as different as you think, but
Okay.
I mean, honestly, like with yours, because it was a pitch event, I already knew the basis of the story, and I knew just based on that little pitch, I had an idea going in to
Okay.
expect certain elements like time travel, and
Yeah.
and so there were expectations right off the bat, where with Vicky's, where it was assigned, and I was given a little bit to read and a blurb. I had expectations, but it's different than if you're honestly, I probably would have still liked it at a pitch event, Vicky, because it's really good. But my point being, um, you approach it a little bit differently, but it's kind of the same too, because I still read the whole manuscript once I had it. I still took notes because again, it's still a cold read. I mean, I had some expectations, but it's still a cold read. And I always like to know, is what I'm reading how you really intended it? Does it come through that way? And the only way I'm going to know that is to read it, and then as we do edits and we talk and we compare, what I think is happening to what you think is happening, then that's how we find what's really supposed to be happening and how it comes across to readers. If that makes sense.
I have a question. This is both, from an editor perspective and an author perspective. We talked about expectations.
Mhm.
How much of reader expectations for the genre of fantasy, especially, if you're going and knowing it's monsters versus vampires versus, how much of those reader expectations in other worlds do you have to keep in the back of your mind so that, maybe you're not jarring the reader by introducing a different rule than what people are used to?
I'll let you
Ooh.
answer that, Vicky, first. From the author
Wow.
standpoint.
Okay. Well, I mean, I read a lot of fantasy romance as well, and I like fantasy. So I think answering from both camps, if you like, I think fantasy readers are very used to going into stories and knowing that the rules are going to be different depending on what the author has come up with. So it's not so much that you need to make sure that you're meeting their expectations of the rules that they're already expecting, if that makes sense. You need to make sure that the rules that you come up with are good enough, kind of thing, and they
Yep.
make sense, and you need to follow those rules. The one thing that fantasy readers don't tend to like is the whole, well, because it's magic kind of thing. So you need to make sure that you have got the rules of the world sorted, the rules of the magic if it involves magic sorted, and that you follow those all the way through. I think that's what readers expect from fantasy, not necessarily they know that you're going to put, and I would hope that they hope you're going to put a different spin on what they on the usual species that you find, like the elves and the dwarves and dragon shifters and everything else, but it's more about making sure that you come across as confident in what you're writing and the world that you've created, if that makes sense.
Makes
And
excellent
would you
sense.
say, Vicky, that so for dragon shifters, for example, the one expectation you can have going into a dragon shifter story is that at some point your characters are going to shift between human and dragon.
Yeah.
That's the expectation.
Yes.
But the smaller details, what kind of dragon, what color, what are their abilities, why are they doing this? Those are up to you.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
kind of, and it's that same way with vampire stories, or so any of these, fantasy creatures and monsters. I think you have to look at the big overall like vampires, they're going to drink blood. So there's that expectation. What else you do with that is up to
Yeah.
you, because
Yeah.
that meets the reader's expectation, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
that allows you to say, I'm using this basis as a character for a dragon shifter because my character shifted into dragons. Now, what those dragons look like is up to
It's
you.
up to you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, fully agree with that.
Vicky, I'm going to steal one of your questions to Jodi, which is for everybody now. What's your favorite mythological creature?
My personal favorite are Selkies. I
Ooh.
love Selkie stories. I actually wrote a short story about a Selkie. I just think they're interesting and fascinating, and there's an element of inherent romance to those creatures, and I just really like them. So they're my personal favorite.
How about you, Vicky?
I do like dragons. I really do like I kind of like any winged creature really. So I like phoenixes as well, and griffin, anything with wings. I'd love to be able to fly. So anything big with wings that can potentially carry me off is going to be up there as one of my favorites.
Sev?
I don't really have a favorite, but I do like griffins. I am currently writing a griffin sci-fi fantasy, but I'll tell you what I don't like, and that is fairies. I can't read it. I can't edit it. No. So for me, it's not. I don't like fairies.
Do you mean like the little Tinkerbell sort, or are you talking about the big fae, or both?
Yeah, the fae, the
The
fae.
fae. Okay. Yeah.
There's like a craziness around it, like everyone loves the fae, and they're so glamorous or so wickedly evil, and I'm like so bored. Been there, done that. So that's no fae for me.
See, now maybe we should ask that question. Are there any fantasy creatures that you guys don't like? Because Jodi knows I cannot handle zombies, which is funny.
That a
'cause I have-
fantasy?
They're not fantasy
It's
creatures,
not-
I don't think.
I
just
know,
go-
I know. But
I
Apocalypse.
consider
they're
those
not-
more speculative fiction creatures.
they're not fine.
So no
How
zombies.
about you? Yeah. Oh, no, zombies.
Fairy zombies.
Yeah.
Fae zombies. Okay, no fae zombies.
Oh, what I don't know that I've come across any that I don't like. It's not, but again, I don't write that type of fantasy stories, and I read some, but it's not often my go-to genre. If I have free time to read and I'm looking for something to read, it's not what I usually go to. So,
And mermaids? What about mermaids?
I don't mind mermaids. I like mermaids, okay.
Yeah, some Aquaman fan fiction. So that's it. No one. Vicky, is there one you don't like?
I don't think so. I think the only thing I don't really know if it counts as mythological. Really, I'm not, because I'm a massive wuss. I'm not great with ghosts. So that's probably one thing I would steer away from is anything involving, particularly what are they called, where they actually haunt the house and they start moving you. Poltergeist. Ooh, yeah, I don't like those. I don't know if that counts as mythological really, but yeah, I can't do anything involving poltergeists or scary ghosts. That's not for me.
Yeah, Lorraine Donna has a gargoyle.
Oh, love a
shifter
gargoyle.
romance. Yeah, gargoyle shifter romance series.
Nice,
Really impressive.
That's
yeah.
cool.
They're very popular at the moment,
Yeah.
gargoyles. Very popular, quite rightly so as well.
Yes. Say no more.
Steph, do we have time for one more question for
Yes,
everybody?
of course.
All right. So we all write different genres. I thought it would be fun to just quick run down what the genres are that we're writing, and then just a question for you ladies. How do you shift between writing genres? Is it difficult to write one and then suddenly switch to another? So Vicky, why don't you kick us off? I mean, you sort of did at the beginning, but remind us again, what genres are you writing?
Yeah, so I'm writing fantasy romance but actually, obviously I'll be doing my pre-edits for that, but at the moment I am writing my third book in my monster romance series, and I'm also trying to write the sequel to my other Champagne book, which is Regency Mystery. So I must admit that switching from spicy monster romance to Regency Mystery is a little bit tricky. And I keep wanting to do it
Language-wise.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
I'm quickly realizing that I'm not a switch between genres person when I'm writing. I need to stick to one. So yeah, I think I have like different playlists on Spotify depending on what I'm writing and things like that, but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. You have to get in the right mindset, I think, for each genre.
Mm.
How about you, Jodi?
I right now I'm only working on one story. So I'm working on, it's kind of an end of the world dark romance, and I love it. It has mutant vampires and zombies. And my heroine is a lunch lady who is out to save her love interest, the person she loves. And I love hers. I love her story because she doesn't see herself as brave. She doesn't want to save the world. She just wants to save one person. So when I write that story, my frame of mind is totally different than when I'm writing my time travel romances. But
I know. Hello? I think we've got a technical difficulty. Oh man, that was so cool.